Hi, Miguel. Great to have you join us today. Always a pleasure learning from you, and hope today we can delve a little bit more in the topic of generative AI.
Very good. Thank you, Jan, and obviously, thank you for having me.
So as maybe a quick introduction to everyone watching this, I'm Yan Vermeulen. I head up the global practice for chemical and process industries with Odgers Berndtson. We're one of the leading executive search firms in the world. And I'm joined today by Miguel Gonzalez, who works as a Chief Procurement Officer at DuPont. Miguel comes with a wealth of global experience, having worked all across the world with well-known multinationals. He's been with DuPont since 2015 and became the Global Chief Procurement Officer in 2017. So Miguel, again, thank you very much for your time. And let me dive right in with the first question for you. So with all the talk in the world right now about AI and Gen AI, I was hoping that you might be able to clarify for us a little bit more about the difference between AI and Gen AI and how this is influencing the chemical industry at the moment.
Perfect. So great question, because we keep talking about, Gen AI and it's all the hype. Interesting that many times people are still a little confused. So I think it's good to clarify the difference between, let's start even with ML, machine learning, the bots, the robots that have been around for a long time and, great productivity tool. Then we have AI, artificial intelligence. And it has been around for already, many years, and we all have benefited from the use of AI. Now for the last year, now is the Gen AI. And the main difference is, like basic terms, AI is gonna get information that is available, it's going to extract, it's going to manipulate, it's going to show you data, but it's going to be using existing data. Generative AI, basically, generative is going to generate non-existing outputs. It's going to create something new. And I think that's a breakthrough, because you just get your data, manipulate the data, great. I mean, it really helps. But when now you are creating new things, and on the personal side, when you see some of those tools creating images that they don't exist, AI is going to find pictures and images and show you what you're looking for. Generative is going to create something that does not exist. So that's probably the main difference. Also, generative AI, it's when you chat with, the tool that most people know, Chat GPT. You're chatting. It's a conversation. I see people sometimes using it like a Google search bar, asking a question. And it's way more than that. It's a conversation. So you start with, I want something, can you do something? But then when you get the output, you can build on top of that. You can say, oh, can you change? Can you add? Can you modify? And the tool keeps building on top of the previous responses. It's not that everyone is independent from the previous one. And I think that's a great advantage, because you keep improving the outcome without having to start from scratch every time you give feedback to the tool. And I think that's the other point that people need to know. You're giving feedback. The tool is learning, continuously learning. Everything you tell the tool is going to add to the database of knowledge. When you do Google search, when you do AI, pure AI, it's basically kind of like starting every time again and again. So that's probably the biggest differences. Going back to your second part of the question, the impact into the chemical industry. I don't think the chemical industry is much different from everyone. I mean, this is impacting everybody, from financial, chemical services, marketing, media, agencies. I mean, this is a new world. If I were to look at something specific to us, and maybe more than just chemical, is manufacturing in general. There are a couple of things that we're starting to see opportunities, like risk management. Right now, risk management, contingency plans, is the big thing for all of us. How do we secure supply after COVID and the geopolitical situation we have seen in the world? Now we can use AI to help us, imagine about the tool finding new suppliers, finding new routes, not only monitoring social media, but also recommending actions. Because right now we have a lot of tools to monitor social media. Then we find out there is an explosion in one port. Now we need to die. But then humans have to do a lot of finding and actions. Now the tool can tell you, send these containers to this port, do this here, talk to your, think about the possibilities. The other is data analytics. AI was a game changer in terms of data analytics and show us data in multiple ways in seconds, instead of running all these Excel pivot tables. Now Gen AI is gonna bring us to the next level. Think about like SKU rationalization, not only showing us the data and what is the tail, but also even finding ways of eliminating the tail and identifying duplicates and alternate suppliers for some of the SKUs we have. The other thing we are exploring is network modeling. So not just showing the data, where do you have your SKUs, where do you have inventory, where do you have your shipping points, but recommending alternate solutions and even finding those warehouses, alternate routes, carriers, suppliers to optimize your network. So as you can see, and we're just starting, we're just scratching the surface. So it's pretty exciting times.
That's very interesting, very interesting. And I think when we met in the US in Philadelphia earlier in the year, you also mentioned that this is the biggest impact for the industry, at least for what you're seeing. Now, these are the opportunities, but well, are there any dangers or any challenges in working with Gen AI, and how might this impact your role in the industry?
Sure. So obviously, yes, they are. And if you read the news, there has been a lot of hype. We all heard at the beginning, this is going to be the end of the world. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, people always take things out of context, but, like everything else is new. We need to learn. We need to, start, playing with it. It's also, we have heard a lot of mistakes and errors, and, everybody's like, oh, you see, this is why it's not working. Look what that lawyer did. And yes, that's okay. As part of a new thing, we're making mistakes, but we need to learn from those. So one of the things we already learned is most of those errors came down to lack of human supervision of the outcomes. So do not assume the output is 100% correct. It's not. I mean, by default, it's not. It will get better and better and better. Part of that conversation, giving feedback, is going to get better, but do not just copy paste the output. That will be a major mistake, because the tool is making things up. It's part of the generative AI. It's creating things, but it doesn't really know if what it's creating is accurate. It comes to us to give the feedback and make sure that the output is something we can use. Also, the other thing is the data is limited. So the latest version of ChatGPT, and most tools are similar, is dating back now to April 2023. So it has limited knowledge of the current world. So if you try to build something based on yesterday news, it doesn't have that information. Now, I believe in the latest versions, now the tools have access to the web in real time. So it's going to get better and better. But for the last few months, and even the version 3.5, data was back to earlier 2022. So we had the examples that the tool didn't even know that there is a war in Ukraine. It was going back to Crimea 2014. So it's getting better. Now, the other, probably the most important thing in terms of risk, is you have to protect your data, your IP. Everything you load, everything you say goes into the open and becomes available for everybody. So the first thing you have to do, as in your companies, is install the tool behind your firewall. That way you get access to the wall, to all the data out there, but nothing of what you load or nothing of that you give access to the tool gets out. So you're protecting your confidential data, your IP. That's probably the most important thing you need to do.
That's very insightful. I might have to have a chat with our IT folks after this as well. The last couple of years, though, right? It's ever since COVID started, and then we had raw material price increases, energy cost, supply chain blockages. It was nonstop in terms of crisis after crisis after crisis. And leaders really had to adapt and be very agile with all the changes coming their way. Now we have Gen AI. I mean, how are leaders going to adapt themselves? How are they going to prepare themselves for the inevitable changes that are coming? And maybe the second part is that, are there any specific skills that maybe people need to learn or need to adapt for this change?
Perfect. So great question, Jan, because the world is crazy, continuous evolution. I mean, the last 3 years show us what may happen. So for us as leaders, if there is something that I think we're getting better at, but we still need to even get better, is we need to embrace change. And generative AI is going to bring major disruptive change, but we need to embrace it. We need to understand it. We cannot fight it. It's happening. It's going to happen. So the sooner we embrace it, we adopt it, the better. We have to see the opportunities instead of just the risk, because that's, it's some of the things we do as human beings. So what I would suggest is get access to it. As I say, build, put it behind your firewall and then give access to your team. You can start with a pilot, a small group of people, maybe a larger group, learn, practice, set the rules of engagement. So you need to tell people what they can do and the don'ts of using generative AI. But probably the most important thing I'll say, it's like with everything, it's share progress. As you build business cases, we all are doing the same. So reach out to your peers, reach out to industry experts, learn what everybody else is doing, share your successes, but also share your mistakes. And that's how all will learn. And I mean, I'm talking about generative AI, but it's basically the same with everything we do in supply chain, procurement. We're not alone. If we try to do this by ourselves, we're going to get so far. When we do it as part of an industry-wide effort, we all benefit from each other.
That's great. That's great. Thank you very much. And I think that sort of agility and partnership and learning, I think, are very valuable lessons, and also very valuable lesson for myself and for the team in terms of identifying where does the next leadership come from, and what skills do they need to have, and what the companies or what do our clients need to focus on. So that's all very interesting, and thank you very much for those insights. And I think it was a good summary of where Gen AI is, how it's impacting the industry, what leaders need to adjust. So really great insights, Miguel, and really thank you so much for your time today. It's been great learning and getting your thoughts, and it's definitely an exciting time ahead for our industry.
No, definitely, Jan. And we're talking today. A year from now, it could be completely different. And, the speed of change in the world of technology is so fast. So probably it's as a closing comment, something like advice to, peer leaders. It's a communication internally, externally with your teams. Obviously, you need to make sure people understand this is good. It's change, but it's good change. A lot of people keep talking about, am I going to lose my job? And this is a huge opportunity to focus on added value and let the tool do the things that you don't want to do. All this searching, analyzing. We have been doing a lot of test cases with contract management. And interesting enough, there is an article today on regarding AI negotiating an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement with other AI in minutes, something that we all know it takes days between companies and legal. And now it's like, wow, now who wants to go through those 100-page agreements, 4 days, redlining, when the tool can do that for you. But as I say, do not copy paste. Wherever the tool comes, before you sign the dotted line, read it through, make sure everything is accurate. But I see it as a huge opportunity to increase performance and add value. I don't see so much the risk that people are afraid of.
And that's it, right? It's not jobs or roles being replaced by Gen AI. It's how people can learn how to live and improve by collaborating with AI and really helping the companies through that.
Definitely.
Again, thank you so much, Miguel. Really appreciate your time today.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me, Jan. Take care.